what we want to start with is we want to start drawing the shape for the body of the Indoraptor first. Well, let's first start on doing the heads of the Indoraptor and the Scorpius Rex. So I want to draw a circle, not exactly in the center of the paper, just a little bit to the right. I want to draw this one over here. So this is going to be the location for the head of the Indoraptor, and then over here I want to draw the head of the Scorpius Rex, which will be a little bit bigger than the Indoraptor. So now we want to draw his neck. His neck will go something like this because his body will be close to the ground in comparison. So this will be the basics for his body, and then his tail just goes like this. Alright, so this will be the basic shapes for the Indoraptor. So yeah, let's now focus on doing his head, and I hope this will go right just in one go. So we want to draw a shape like this over here, and then we want to draw a shape like this over there, and this will have to be a little bit larger than what we originally drew it, something like this. Alright, so basically what you want to do is about over here we want to have an eye ridge, a bump right there, and then attached to that bump will be his neck instantly. And over here will be, of course, his chest muscle. Over here will be the, not sure what it's called, but here will be his rib cage. And his leg would be about right there, I'm guessing. Yeah, something like this. And his knee would be a little bit lower than his rib cage. And then we draw a couple of lines like this. And I think this is pretty accurate. So let's focus on his head right now. So over here he has a area that goes like this, and over here the bottom jaw attaches to his upper jaw. Then he has another bump over here near the end of his snout, and then I think his nose is supposed to be a little bit more like this. Alright, it's starting to look a lot more accurate than my first couple attempts. So now for his eye, we will have to draw something like this. And this is actually really hard in my opinion, because I just cannot get it right. I keep failing every single time when I draw the Indoraptor and I want to have it accurately. So this line goes quite a bit back into his neck. And now we want to draw a line like this over there. And this one goes straight out like that, with a curve over there. Then we want to start with drawing his eye right here, and that should be fine. I do want to make his eyebrow a little bit more protruding. Alright, so that looks a lot like the Indoraptor in my opinion. So now we want to draw in a couple of teeth. And I want to draw them straight through the line for his jaws to give that little bit of to give him a little bit of a nasty look, like so. Alright, I think this looks pretty accurate. This is the best that I've gotten it since I first tried it. Alright, so now what we want to do, we want to make one hand like reaching out for him. So we draw a couple of claws like this, and then his thumb right there, and then we want to have a hand that goes down and he is resting on the ground. He's standing on the ground with that one hand. And you know what? Actually, I think that his tail is a little bit too short. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the angle that it's in to give it sort of a longer tail, just a slightly bit longer, and this will give it a more dynamic look as well. So right now it might not look really much like the Indoraptor, but once this is finished, I'm sure you will see the resemblance. So we want to draw one claw or one toe right there, and the other one will be over here, and you just draw them in like this. Same for this one, but this one goes up a little like that. And then over here we want to have a very big and pronounced toenail, like that of a raptor. Alright. Also on his back he has a couple of spikes like this, and these spikes have some feathers attached to them. You don't have to draw in all the detail, every single small detail. You just draw in the necessary ones. And that's basically how I do it. So we're gonna have a little bit of foreshortening right here. Because of the way that it is, that his arm is positioned. So what we're gonna do, we are gonna draw his fingers in like so. And then there's gonna be one over here. And then his thumb will be right there. Alright, so that looks like he has some really long creepy fingers, which is pretty okay. He's meant to look like, looks strange, I guess. He has very long underarms, so pay attention to that. So we can see one claw right here, one right here, and then his thumb will be right there. And then his elbow will be right there. Something like that. So it's starting to look pretty good in my opinion. How long are we recording? Alright, 11 minutes. That's pretty okay. Pretty acceptable. So now I want to have the other leg, the other foot actually, right about over here. And then you just draw the same kind of thing, but now we can I'm sorry, now we can only see one toe, and then over here will be the very big one. And we can barely see this one toe, by the way. And I need to erase this real quick. And we can also see a knee right there. Alright. So it is starting to look pretty decent. The only thing we need is to draw in his tail, which will not fit completely on the whole paper, but because of the way that I drew it, it still looks pretty decent. So now you just want to continue on drawing these spikes or protruding scales on his back until you go into the area of his tail. So he still needs a couple of those osteoderms right here, and again just about over the hip, and then it fades into the tail. Alright, so yeah, that looks pretty good in my opinion. Now we are at the point where we want to draw the Scorpius Rex, and this one is gonna look really strange, to be honest, but yeah, let's go. By the way, I'm really sorry I keep doing this. I should have started on the left side of the paper, and I accidentally started on the right side of the paper. So yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah, let's continue on. So what you want to do is you want to draw a line like this. You want a line that goes almost like at an angle down, and then a line that goes at the same sort of angle up. And let's make it a little bit shorter, because he has a very short snout. Alright, so you want to draw a shape like this, and then a shape that goes like this. So that is his jaw shape. And you want to go up. You want to... It's almost like the shape of a Carnotaurus head, to be honest. His eyebrow should be a little bit more in front of the drawing. And I think this is a little bit wrong. That looks a little bit better. Alright, so there we have the basics for the Scorpius Rex. Just draw in the eye socket, and then like an area like that. You want to draw his nostril right there. And yeah, the Scorpius Rex has a very short head, almost like the Carnotaurus. Yeah, he looks a lot like the Carnotaurus. So to finish his jaw off, we just do the same thing as the Indoraptor right here. We draw the teeth, and they protrude a little bit into the jawline. And then this should be a little bit further back. And then we want to draw his eye right here. Well, maybe... yeah, alright, well, this looks pretty decent. So, now we do the same thing. We want to finish off his neck right here, and then we want to get his chest area into the actual drawing. And actually, I don't have space to put his whole tail in as well. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to try and put him at an extreme angle, as to where I need to put his body a little bit closer to his neck, because there's gonna be some foreshortening right here. Alright, so this would be his body, and over here we will have his rib cage protruding out. We will have some chest muscles that we can see over here, and of course his shoulder muscles will be over here as well, because he has very protruding shoulder muscles, very pronounced shoulders. So yeah, so I want to draw one arm that is sort of like what we see in the movie, sort of going back like this, and the other one will also be over here. He will be standing on it. Maybe a little bit more at an angle like this, because I want him to be pretty close to the ground. So we want to draw a line that goes like this. We want to draw a line that goes like this. Oh, I already drew it. Alright, that's okay. We just want to put some flesh around it. And then we want to focus on where we want to have the fingers starting to get visible. I think this looks pretty promising. Alright, so this looks pretty creepy with the big claws right there. And then he has a couple of spikes on his neck as well. And on top of those spikes we can draw some poisonous feathers or spikes or quills, whatever you would call them. He's starting to look real creepy, to be honest. So we can see the other leg right here as well protruding. And let's draw in this arm as well. So here is his thumb, which will go to the rest of his fingers. And let's put the fingers a little bit close, the nails or claws a little bit closer to each other, because this way it looks a little bit better. Alright, so there we have that one. Well, let's get the claws a little bigger. Looks a little bit better. Alright, so now we have to put in his leg, which is behind this arm, and is pretty thin until the point of the actual toe. So we have a toe right here, we have one right here, which are pretty big. And this one is facing us a little, and then we have a very big one right here. And the only downside of this angle is basically that it is well, how do you call that? I mean, like, he has a spike on the back of his well, his heel, I guess, and we cannot really see that one right now, and that's pretty disappointing, to be honest. I think I may have made his arm way too long, so I need to pay attention to this one right here, and I cannot be out of proportions with that one, so I need to make it a little bit smaller. And I'll just replicate whatever I did right there. I'll try and replicate it. Like that, and then just draw a thumb right there. Because I cannot go too overboard with the proportions for this one. Alright, so this is starting to look pretty promising, like I said. And let's, well, actually, let's get his leg a little bit closer to the ground. Just a tiny bit, because it's a little bit too high off the ground. So we could just make it a little bit bigger, or just get it down a tiny little bit more. And I guess that's a little bit better. Alright, so now the other one, the other leg, will be the similar, well, maybe a little bit more farther back, because he has to have a little bit more weight on this one, so this one will be forwards a little bit, and the other one will be backwards, because there's weight on this hand right here. I'm sorry for erasing so many times, it's really hard to get two very distinct dinosaurs down on paper and not make a lot of mistakes. Alright, so the other one will be in a pose like, well, more stretched out legs. So this one will be about over here, so I'll just draw a claw like this, go back a little bit, draw a claw like that, and then we can see one claw right there, one right there. So yeah, this one is a little bit further back, but again, it's because of the pose that it's in. Okay, so now we will have to draw in his tail, and he does not have a very long tail. to be honest. He has a very short and it seems like armored tail in comparison with other dinosaurs. And maybe I think he also has the same kind of back as the Indoraptor, which would give him like sort of like shape like this, and then shape like that. And we would have to see a little bit of armor on his back. I think this is actually a thing on Scorpius Rex, but I'm not really sure. He does have a couple of poisonous spikes on his tail, so we do want to draw in those. And it's almost like the spikes of a Stegosaurus, but just a lot more and more divided to parts of his tail. So I guess he also has some armoring on his neck, like that. And then he has some spikes on his hand. So what I'm gonna do now, and this part will be probably in time lapse, I'm gonna erase parts of the Scorpius Rex because I wanna refine the lines a little bit better, and I wanna sharpen my pencil so that I can get better lines in. So yeah, I'll be back. Hello there, so don't worry, the video will be continuing shortly, but if you are still watching, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I still want to remind you to please make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because again, a lot of you guys are not subscribed yet, and it might be better if you subscribe just so you don't miss a single video. So enjoy the rest of the video. Alright, so I am back, and now it is time to add the most important couple of details, which are just a little bit of shadow and everything, and maybe we should put in the spikes on his arms right here. Like that. And yeah, we can start on doing some shadowing. So basically where I want to add shadow is in the areas where the lines come together. For example, over here or over here, I want to have a little bit of shadow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw these lines that indicate the areas where there will be a little bit of shadowing. And also, what we want to do is we want to draw in the, like I said, the important tiny little details and everything. So these are not really too hard to draw, this kind of detail, but this is just a detail that is seen in a lot of Jurassic Park or Jurassic World meat eaters. Just the veins and everything, and the like a line right here, maybe a couple of lines going into his tail, like so. And those are the basic details that are a little bit important. So a couple of lines that go down like right there, and of course to detail the shadow where every line comes together, sort of. And later on we have to draw in the just a couple of, well, we can actually do it right now. So he does not have too many feathers on his forearm, he just has a couple of them, and that's about all, as far as I can see at least. So there's gonna be a little bit shadow in the cavities, and there's gonna be a lot of shadow around his eye for both of them. Like so. So this way you can make out his eye a little bit easier. A little bit easier to see, to spot his eye, basically. Alright, so we want to have some shadow down on his throat over here. And we want to have a little bit of a tone into the rest of it. So I'm just drawing these couple of thick shady lines to get a little bit of tone in the drawing. Make the underside of his tail a little darker. So just doing a lot of lines very close together to create a little bit of shadow at the areas where it is a little harder to draw shadow because of the way that like the shape of the body moves into. We want to have a kneecap over there. We don't really see one on the other foot. You want to have a little bit of shadow, but I still want to keep that highlight. And not too much shadow on his shin. Do want to draw in a little bit of shadow between the toes, so you could make out the distinction between the toes a little better. Again, this is where lines come together, so we get a little bit of shadow. And I do want to have a little bit of longer claws attached to the hands. And let's add a little bit of shadow. Alright, so that's basically done with the Indoraptor, and again I started on the wrong side of the paper, but that will be totally fine for now. I do want to have a couple of lines go straight down like this, just a little bit of extra detail. It doesn't have to be perfect. So yeah, I want to shadow the insides of his legs a little bit more. to create that sense of depth a little better. A little bit of shadow in between the toes, not too much. And do the same thing over here. Alright, I do want to have a lot of shadow over here. So I need to make sure that I don't go over these spikes too much. Or his hand and arm. Alright. So at this point it's starting to get hard for me to draw the shadow. So I start to use lines that are very close to each other to create a nicer looking effect. Alright, just darken in the inside of his arm. Don't want to go too far, so I'll just do something like this. Get a little bit of shadow into this area, and I still have to erase the claws that I originally put in, and I later changed it to be a little bit more elongated. Alright, that looks a little better. So let's put in a couple of lines that come down from his armored plates on his back, and a little bit of extra shading on the inside of his leg right there. And maybe a little bit of detail. I want to give him a little bit of tone here and there. And as well as on his neck, let's get some shadow in straight away. And then I use these lines again. It's just, I mean, like, it's supposed to be a cross-hatching technique, but I use it for more purposes, because I just like the texture of dinosaur skin if you do it that way. And do the same thing on his neck. And there we have the basics of how to draw the Indoraptor versus the Scorpius Rex. Let's put a little bit of tone into his face as well. Maybe a little bit extra detail. And let's darken the underside of his tail. Here I'm smudging my drawing again, but that's okay because it's a really messy drawing, and I'm pretty much okay with it, I guess. There's a lot of erasing involved, but yeah. We all know why that happened. like I said, I tried to draw this multiple times. I mean, I forgot, I lost count of how many times I actually did try this drawing, but I wouldn't be surprised if I drew this 5 times while recording and doing a commentary, and halfway I realized that it wasn't looking the way I wanted it to look, and I basically just stopped recording. And tried it again. Let's put in a tongue actually. For both of them. This is way too white for my taste. Need to shade it down a little. And this one as well. Alright. So, in my opinion, if I erase all the unnecessary bits, and try to go over them again and try and erase it, it should turn out to look pretty okay. I hope you really won't be able to see all the erasing parts and all the nasty lines, but I guess I'll have to have a little bit of faith. So yeah, in my opinion it looks pretty awesome. I'm pretty happy with it, at least whenever I compare it to to my other attempts. But yeah, so if you like the drawing, leave a like, comment below what you think about the video and the drawing in general, and don't forget to subscribe. So this was Dinosaur Drawer, and goodbye.